Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Yeah, this season I actually had little business cards made. Eric Rubino, Fantasy Baseball GM. You can keep that. Sure, the players are famous, but come game day, I decide their fate. What's that? Oh, you make $20 million? Well, I don't like your attitude. You benched! No, I'd never bench an all-star, but I could. That's also why I like Progressive's Name Your Price tool. With options based on my budget, they never throw me a curveball. That's a little baseball reference for you.
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Unregimented. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich. Oh yeah.
And more reports of Trump being presidential this week. I can't believe this far into the process we still have these hot takes of like, boy, today he really became president.
Isn't it
kind of too late?
Well, too. Also, whenever this phrase has been used, it's him acting like a decent human being.
It's him doing the bare minimum job of just like not inciting panic, not being a vile person.
Hey, he wasn't a dick today. He's presidential.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like his new campaign manager might be getting through to him. He fired the last guy. I don't know either one of them from Adam, except for I saw some pictures when the last guy got canned. I saw some pictures of him. Looked like a Proud Boy, dude.
What does that mean?
The Proud Boys?
He's white and he had a beard?
Yeah.
There's tons of guys that look like Proud Boys then.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a look. You've seen them, right?
To me, they basically look like white guys.
You're saying they look like Gavin McInnes?
Yeah.
Okay. Gavin McInnes looks like every wannabe hipster fucking I know. So, except for he doesn't play up the. I doubt they're going to play up the. I'm going to spend so much money to look really poor, type thing. He actually leans into the power nerd thing with his bow ties and suspenders and shit.
Right.
But no, I get what you're saying. I kind of get what you're saying.
Well, he's bad at his job because Trump's getting trounced in the polls.
Yeah, I don't think any of this is going to make a difference. Him and his somber tone and admitting for one day, I mean, he's gone back to the same old Trump since then. But in one instance, he says that this is likely to get worse before it gets better. To which the rest of the nation was like, no shit, where have you been?
Right?
This is something that we all know, and you now coming around to it and admitting it in public does absolutely nothing.
Thanks for bringing back something you said in April.
Yeah, I mean, he's right back to, when it comes to the economy or, the schools are a big thing that we've been talking about since we're, a little over a month out from school going back into session. And anything that makes it look like we're in a pandemic, Trump feels like it makes him look bad. So we've got to get the kids back into schools. And yet they can't find a place to have their convention. I mean, I don't know how you can say, like, we need to pack the schools full of kids, but it's not safe for the adults to come out and gather together.
It's what I said in the pre-show meeting. And I have no dog in the fight, 0 children. Schools are petri dishes. It's crowding indoors. No, don't do it.
If you have younger kids, like grade school kids, and you've had to stay at home because you weren't essential, and they have little friends next door, how well Okay, you got to stay 6 feet away from them is going to work. When you yell at them, they'll get 6 feet away from each other. The minute you get out of eyesight, they're right back up on each other. Mask, you can throw that idea out the window too. They'll be making fucking slingshots and shit out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I have teenagers, right, and it's a little different. And I know that I don't know when my kids are going to be back in school. That's still up for debate. But when they do go, when their plan for getting kids back into school is to have them rotate out. So they'd have 3 days where they basically divide the whole school up into threes, and each section, reports on one day. I mean, between that, them trying to social distance, the enforcement of masks, I mean, yeah, it will make a difference. I still don't see it as something that makes a big enough difference that, well, the thing is it has to balance out, right? Everything's a cost-benefit ratio, right? So if I'm protecting my own health, then I'm not going to go anywhere, right? But I do have to go some places. So there's decisions that I make. I have to get food. What is the major benefit that my kids are going to get by going to the school to be socially distant, to wear the mask, and not really have the same type of social interaction that they would normally have in school? So unless you can convince me that there's like a real benefit to that face-to-face learning with the teacher, then I'm just going to keep my kids at home. And if you don't like that, then I'm going to homeschool them.
Plus, get them used to what their jobs are going to be anyways. It seems like the few. Well, once we come out of this, probably a lot of shit's going to hang out. Once we do come out of this sometime next year, I bet a lot of places are going to let their leases lapse. Like, wow. We don't need this huge piece of overhead called a building. We've been getting work done for the last year from our houses.
Yeah, even once we come out the other side of this, we have a vaccine, we get it down to 0 cases even. I think office life and a lot of businesses are going to be permanently changed because they don't want to get caught now with their pants down if we have another pandemic. Which is a very real possibility that we beat COVID-19 and have to then beat it COVID-20 or whatever the fuck. I guess it wouldn't be 20 because I keep forgetting that 19 was the year they discovered it, right?
Yeah.
That's why 19. So, yeah, there's going to be permanent changes.
Yeah, I'm hearing chatter like I'm done going downtown for the year. My department where I work, we're already set up to work like everyone else has been working for the last 5 months. So yeah, I'm probably working from home for the rest of 2020. Yeah, and I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, so it makes sense that we're going to be doing more things remotely, regardless of the pandemic situation. So why not get the kids used to it now? And let's face it, they're already ahead of us. Right?
Oh yeah,
my kids have transitioned pretty well during this. They like getting together with their friends and having role playing games and that, and they did that face to face when they could. But more often than not, it was just a hassle to try and coordinate rides and whose house are we going to be at and blah blah blah. When they can just jump on a phone call together or get on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, to your kids, this is just another thing they're going to do with their laptop, their tablet, or their phone.
Yeah.
Well, it's also it's a lot easier for them because they grew up with this stuff. I mean, friendships are just the nature of most friendships are just different these days. Like, I highly doubt there's a lot of teenagers out there calling each other, talking on the phone for an hour or two. I bet you it's more like texting.
What I learned from my sister-in-law, it's FaceTime.
Yeah,
it's all that shit. The phone's for old people. What? You're not looking at the person you're talking to. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I don't want to see the person I'm talking to.
Yeah, right.
This ain't phone sex. I don't need the visual aid. I don't care. Just another thing to suck up my fucking Wi-Fi and kill my battery quicker. Thanks.
So how pissed do you guys think colleges are going to be? It's going to expose and erode a lot of money from colleges. I mean, I've heard on a few podcasts I listen to that the dirty secret right now that nobody's letting out because they don't want it to get out is you can negotiate your tuition right now if you're in college. And you're doing all your learning remotely.
You can negotiate, really?
Yeah. But I mean, this is going to, I mean, unless you know, aside from the sports programs, I mean, everything else, I mean, it's going to go online, and how could you get away with charging, you know, the exorbitant amount per credit hour if I'm not using your building, I'm not coming to your campus? What are you charging me for?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend. She's taking a class, and it's a class that requires a lot of lab hours. She could do the lab online even. I'm like, you don't even need to go down to the lab? She's like, nope. Okay. So it's completely, yeah.
Yeah, that is the real question that's going to keep coming up even more is what are we really paying for? You know, there's going to be, there's big name colleges that everybody knows that people want to go to because you can just go, bam, I went to, you know, this school and I'm almost guaranteed to get the job that I want. But that's not the majority of careers. That's a real minority of, you know, people attending Harvard and then walking right into, I don't know, job on the Daily Show. So, yeah, the real question is, what are we really paying for? And when you don't have that culture, you know, part of the same way we want to send our kids off to school because we want them to have an experience outside their household, right? And just get a little taste of the real world at least. And that's another part of, that's just an extension of what college is too. You know, this is a chance for you to hopefully meet and talk with people who have differing opinions than you. And traditionally, I think it's maybe becoming less so that it's becoming more homogenized. But when you don't have that whole experience of actually going and living somewhere else and, you know, having more personal responsibility and having some of your beliefs challenged and whatnot, the question is really going to come down to, like, dollars for donuts. Like, what am I getting for my money?
Yeah. You're paying the gatekeepers. You're going, look, I'm proving that I will put out this much money to buy my way into hopefully a better life. And they don't give a shit. All the money spends. You want to get in there and study bullshit, you go ahead. They'll take that money to teach you that bullshit. They don't care. Believe me, they don't care. I mean, if you really think, you might have a few professors or some faculty who really go above and beyond, but if you really want to find out how little your college cares about you, go back to them after you graduate and ask for job placement assistance and watch them shine your ass on. They don't give a fuck once they got your money and got you out. I mean, that's what it is. It's part of the system. It used to be buying your way into an upper tax bracket.
And that's not even guaranteed anymore, right?
No, exactly. Yeah.
You're guaranteed that you'll probably be in debt.
Yeah, now you're buying yourself into debt like 10 years sooner than most people.
Right. Mm-hmm. And the boost that you get in your income for being college educated on average doesn't outweigh the cost of your debt. So you would have been better off going to a trade school or just fucking working retail and trying to, you know, work your way up through a company that way.
Yeah, and plus two, with all the degrees out there, it has diluted the value of a degree.
Yeah.
I mean, there are areas that have a demand. It's just they're not real sexy areas. You know, I mean, I don't think you just go, oh, I'm going to get into the biochem field for the fuck of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not just something that you just,
Well, yeah.
Seems like something I'll try give this a shot as a career.
Yeah, we're talking the majority of college graduates. let's take off the top, doctors, lawyers, scientists, stuff that we still want to make sure that we have real skilled people in those positions.
Yeah, we're talking about liberal arts degrees.
Well, supposedly I keep hearing there's a demand for nursing in the nurses field, and I'm like, okay, so, but once again, that's not to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's where the demand's at, but they can't fulfill the demand, then there's an issue there somewhere. Is it just because it's that hard to get a degree in that? It doesn't pay. It's not worth it to get a degree in that and then go into that much debt and then go into that field to work.
How many? Because I thought nursing was kind of more like a trade school. I mean, not to knock it or anything, but you don't have to have a degree to be a nurse, right?
I think to be certain types, like a licensed like nurse practitioner, stuff like that. Yeah, I believe you do.
Okay.
A nurse practitioner is, I mean, they're not a doctor, but a lot of times they can prescribe up to certain types of medication for you. That's who you'll talk to and go in and see if you go to like a busy clinic. We'll put it that way and leave it that way.
Yeah. Well, I admit I'm ignorant on the subject of nursing.
But I mean, still, it's
you need an associate's.
Okay.
Okay, so 2 years at least, a 2-year degree at least.
And the thing I'm reading says if you want a secure job with more responsibility and higher pay, a bachelor's in science and nursing is what you want to go for. Thanks, Google.
I mean, once again,
you don't need to go to some hoity-toity school to do that. I mean, people probably do 2 years at Henry Ford and get a nursing associate's degree, right?
I would imagine so. I mean, I'm sure they have nursing programs where they streamline it as much as they can to get, the shit that you're not going to use but are required, they try to minimize that as much as possible. I'm sure they have stuff like that. But I mean, once again, if there's this demand and it's, there's money to be made, is there? I mean, is it as financially viable of a career as, some people try to make it out to be and make it out to sound? And I'm not commenting on the job of nursing.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like fuck nurses. So if you're thinking that, wrong. I'm just talking about what we pay them, how much it costs to get that education. Is it going to be worth it? You know what I'm saying?
But you also have to, there's a certain amount of the population you just have to cut right out of that equation because they're just not going to do that job no matter what it is.
I would be in that population.
Right. They know that there's, I wouldn't want to see sick kids. I don't want to be around old people. I'm freaked out by needles. Whatever it is, that's a pretty wide swath of people that are just self-disqualifying them from ever being able to do that job.
Body fluid that isn't mine, I'm out.
Right.
Done.
Well, we now know if you ever decide you need to do gay porn, you're going to be a cum dodger. So we already figured this out. Okay.
Oh, okay. Noted.
You can come on anything, but you ain't coming in anything.
No, but I mean, blood, piss, shit, spit, anything that's not mine. Mouth.
It does think a family member, a child that's yours, or a young child that's a family member. Okay, like I can, but a complete stranger, I'll be like, isn't there someone better qualified to handle this? Like seriously, someone go clean this guy up. I ain't doing it.
But so we strayed a little bit from the top, which is fine. But I want to get back to what is going back to college going to look like during COVID. I mean, it's one thing for me to send my kids locally to a school, right? And they both go to the same school. And if I have to send them, they would both go on the same day. And they would be interacting with the same teachers and the same students. But then college is, I go to a different state, right? And I travel back home sometimes, right? You go to college, and then before you know it, the holidays are coming up, and you're driving, flying, whatever, back home.
You know, there was an article I did read about people rethinking where they're going to go to college, you know, in the coming school year. Like, do I really want to go out of state? Because it's going to be a fucking hassle, especially if, God forbid, you're going to or you're leaving one of the hotspot states.
Yeah.
Because there's other states that are just like, we don't want you here. Apparently, you go to New York, you got to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm like, where? You know what I'm saying? Like,
we've talked a lot over these past few months about how some of these things, these changes that we're seeing were just weaknesses in people's business models that are being exposed by the pandemic. And some of this is just, you know, weeding out of bad business models or bad whatever. Bad business people even. And I think that college is going to see that same type of call, that same, you know, the ones that were really not offering, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but, you know, the weaker ones are going to be, are either going to have to fold or change drastically how they educate.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking a lot of these schools are going to they're going to basically go to online only. I mean, to me, like I said, what was shocking was, and this is kind of along the lines of a medical class my friend's taken, and I'm like, you know, wait, you can do the lab at home? I mean, if that's the case, why the fuck not? Why even show up? Especially considering it's set material from class to class. It's not like it's you know, you're going to get a lecture that could vary from class to class. It is, the material is all there. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't change. So and
this is something that these schools, this is a hole that they've dug for themselves, because we've had the technology for a while to do proper remote learning, but the quote-unquote real schools have pushed back against it because they believe in their institution, both the concept of the institution and the physical building itself, right? The campus.
Oh yeah, they did a pretty successful job of making, anytime anybody said something about, I'm going back to school, where? Online. You know,
Phoenix University. You're going to get.
Yeah, you snicker at them.
Yeah,
they made it seem like,
heating and cooling expert.
Yeah, well, live your ass in Arizona and let the air conditioner go out. You won't be laughing when the heating and cooling expert doesn't show up because you pissed him off.
Right.
Trust me.
But yeah, you're going online. You're gonna, you're gonna be an electrician.
I mean, and it was never, the argument should have been, well, here's the deal. If I can become an electrician sitting on the line paying a just tiny proportion of what you pay, how much are you getting fucked over? I mean,
If you can learn a trade online, why
are you dropping $250,000 to go to Stanford for 4 years?
Yeah, why can't you get a communications degree online? If I can learn how to fucking solder wires. No, I think a lot of these fat professor salaries, the cost of actually running a building, heating, cooling, electricity, all that nonsense, the maintenance staff, all that. I mean, a lot of this shit's going to be exposed. Like, yeah, we don't need it.
Yeah, what are you doing with that endowment?
That's what I've always wondered. All these schools get millions and billions of dollars in endowments, yet they raise their tuition every year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you take a school like a legit school. We'll use U of M, MSU. Legit schools, they're not going to have sports, most likely, in the way they're thinking they're going to have sports. That's going to cost them a lot of money. So, I mean, they're losing money. They're hemorrhaging money. The thing they need to do is, obviously, get people in there. So it makes sense. Hey, yeah, you want to renegotiate your tuition? Let's do this. Because I'd rather get a little less than we expected than get none of what we expected.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because believe me, they would bend you over to return the favor. Believe me, because the minute the power switches back to the way it used to be, it's going to be you over the table going, please be gentle. It's my first time.
Yeah, I believe I was reading about this earlier. I think it was Wayne State that is they're not going to have any. But basically, what they're going to do is they're going to take their dormitories. They're not going to have anyone have a permanent residence on campus. They're going to save those the dorms for students who have to be quarantined. So let's say, they do come in from another state. They can't stay on campus, but if they need to be quarantined for 2 weeks, they'll have a place to do that where they can also, still attend classes.
Oh, cool. So put them all in a concentrated living environment. That'll help.
Well,
they said that's what was the problem was with New York. That's why it ran through New York. Like it was because of the concentrated living. Everybody,
right,
crammed into buildings, shitty ventilation.
Yeah, but also Wayne State's a little different. I mean, Wayne State's got to be like 99% people who live, in the county. There's not a lot of people. I know they get some exchange students or whatever they do, but mostly it's people who live locally or attending a school like that. U of M is different. U of M's got people coming in from all over the country, all over the world.
Well, yeah, but even U of M, aren't they going to... I swore I read something about, well, one, of course, the mask thing, which I don't think U of M's probably going to have that many dissenters, let's be honest. But you never know.
Thing, you mean just the mandate from the governor to wear the mask?
Yeah. They basically were like, we're going to uphold that. It's not optional. It's not a suggestion.
Right.
If you go to U of M, you're going to wear a mask, period. And I'm sure there'll be some pushback, but I doubt it'll be like a whole bunch. But I thought they were trying to get as many people as possible to take online classes and limit the amount of people actually coming to the campus.
Yeah.
Or even send them to the satellite, like the Dearborn campus and the Flint campus. So, I mean, that tells me something. This is U of M. U of M's going to get its money. That Block M is a brand. They're going to get paid. Yep. Just like if they don't play a down of football this fall, they'll make money off that football program still. Just because they're blocking them.
And then this is how Trump and the Republicans have kind of screwed themselves on this too, because they want to push for going back to school because, I don't know, they just see themselves as the education party for whatever reason. But they've also been pushing for years now school choice and vouchers and charter schools and all this stuff. So they want to try and dictate to the schools that, no, you have to open and we need kids to be in class. But because of the expanded choice for parents, schools now have to tailor their learning to what the parents are willing to do. I send my kids to a charter school and I like the school and I'm going to continue to send them unless the school starts doing things that I don't agree with. And then yoink, I have options. And many parents all across this nation now have more options than ever, thankfully in big part due to the push from Republicans. But that means that it's not the government making the sole decision now. It's the parents now that are making some of that decision just by saying, well, you can make all the rules you want, but I don't have to send my kid to your school.
Yeah, the school should be like the electric company. Like, no option.
Well, I don't know. I like the idea that I have options right now.
No, I said they shouldn't be like the electric company.
Oh, they shouldn't. Oh, okay. I see. I'm sorry.
What did Adam Carolla say the other day? Like, imagine you could only go to the car dealership by your house. That's it.
Right.
It's all you could buy a car from. Why do we do that with school?
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
You heard that safe drivers get rewarded with Snapshot from Progressive, so you went online to check it out. But then you saw an ad for a vintage baseball cap, and now you find yourself checking the stats of that team's second baseman in '97, wondering why his stolen base total dropped after his rookie season. Wonder how much his rookie card is worth. Yes, they said it was easy to save money with Snapshot from Progressive, but they forgot about the rest of the internet. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at homedepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
Oh, hi. Okay, guess we should talk about something. Kind of tough to be put on the spot. Not sure what to say. But I know what I'm definitely not talking about. Drivers who switch to Progressive could save big!
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
Well, this pushing to get kids to go back to school. One, okay, they go back. It's not unheard of for kids to die from this. It's just highly unlikely. But there have been, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds who've died from this.
9-year-old in Florida was the most recent, yeah.
So I mean, in our litigious fucking fetishizing children society, how many of those deaths are they going to put up with? You know what I'm saying?
Who's going to get held responsible for that?
Exactly.
It's another thing that I'm sure a lot of schools are considering. All schools, I'm sure, are considering.
Once taxpayers start dying, they'll care. Kids don't pay taxes. They don't give a fuck.
It's not the kid. Well, it's not like the kids are going to fucking go out and riot. I mean, if that was the case, we put the Wiggles on and just fucking set them down for the TV, end a riot, or whatever the fuck kids watch these days. I don't know. But I'm just saying, it's going to be parents, and they're going to be, and dude, fucking, how many times we talk helicopter parents, and what was it? Bulldozer parents. People that just we don't even.
Was also correct.
We don't even airlift you over the problems. We just run over the problems for you and blaze a trail and you follow. Come on, they're one of their little special sweet pea princesses or princesses dies. Oh Christ, dude! All hell's gonna break loose. There'll be a nation of Karens pissed off. You know it. Come on, man. And who's gonna fucking argue with them? This isn't like the Second Amendment. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we sent these kids back to school too fucking early, and now it's costing some of them their lives. And how many people do, we don't have contract tracing down to a fucking art. It's not an exact science. We don't know how many of these fucking kids are going to take something and give it back to a family member who's going to pass it on to an elderly family member, and then boom, they get sick and die.
Yep. Or non-elderly. I mean, my youngest has asthma, as do I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean,
I'll tell you, contract tracing's a pain in the ass. I've been doing it all week. It's annoying. It's 15 minutes to my beginning and the end of my workday. I got to take my temperature 3 times a day.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We're not taking any. I can only go to one place a day. We're not fucking around.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in certain states, it's amazing. You don't hear this being brought up and trotted out. But if this would have happened in Michigan, especially with Whitmer, old Stretch and Gretchen, she'd have caught hell for this. But there's been states where people have tested positive, and they're like, okay, well, then you have to let us know when and if you leave your house. And they're like, I ain't doing that. And the law got involved, and he went in front of a judge, and the judge put a fucking couple on house arrest.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, too, but remember Earl was supposed to be quarantined. He was telling us he was driving around.
At their version of the Woodward Dream Cruise. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good. Jesus. But anyways, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. What do you want to do? What do you want? You want to? I mean, you want the government to come in and tell you have to send your kids to school. We don't care if they get sick. This is the price we pay. Is that what you want? I mean, because to me, it seems like the Republicans should be fighting against that. Aren't they the so-called, at least they give lip service to, smaller government party? You really want the federal government dictating you have to send your kids to school? You have to?
Haven't we gone over this? Only when it suits them. They're for that. Bring up abortion. It's all the government can tell you what to do all they want.
Well, I just saw this like a couple hours ago, so I didn't have a chance to dig into it. So I'm going to omit the city and school district it's in because I don't want to incriminate them in case this was a bullshit story. But everything I was able to look at a quick glance, it checked out. A friend of mine, he has 2 daughters in a school district here in the state, and like they're telling them you have to sign this that if your kids get sick and they bring it home and you guys get sick that we're not responsible. And he's like, the fuck you ain't?
Yeah, I said, nope, I ain't signing shit. You're the one putting them in danger. You're the one that's going to pay the fucking price if they get hurt.
If you send your kids to my house and I send them home with a broken arm, happened on my watch, right? I'm responsible. Sorry. That's just how this shit goes. And I'm like, if that's the case, you're gonna have a lot of parents going, no, I'm not sending my kids back to school.
Well, right. Can you imagine if you had a babysitter over and she was like, here, I'll watch your kids, just sign this waiver that if any one of them dies, I can't be held responsible. I'd be like, next. You know what? We can skip the movie tonight. It didn't even look that good.
Yeah, I would sign that form that your friend got. I would put on the bottom, that's not how this works, and then just, here, take this to school.
Yeah, this is not how anything works. And I doubt that something like that would even fully protect them. If there was a lawsuit, if they were found negligent, I mean, I can't just, I don't know, I can't be negligent as a private citizen as long as, hey, I had a waiver, everybody signed, my house collapsed on them, but if everybody signed this that says, hey, if my house collapses on you while you're over here, I'm not responsible. And I know people think that just because you sign your name to a piece of paper that's legally binding.
Ask a divorce lawyer.
Yeah.
They'll get that unbound real quick. Believe me. That's what they're paid for. Well, I mean, isn't this kind of like a week of like, what the fuck is going on? And have people flipped? I mean, we have federal agents being sent in to cities because why? Crime?
Yeah. Trump ran on Law and Order. He ran against what was going on in big cities like Chicago, and he didn't do shit about it except for threaten, vague threats about how, certain people need to get their houses in order. And he hasn't done anything. And then all of a sudden now, maybe it's this new campaign manager that he has. It's like, maybe you should try making good on some of the promises you ran on. And one of those was, bringing law and order back to a lot of cities. And it's like too little too late at this point. I don't know that he's going to see any benefit from it, and he's certainly handling it wrong.
It also should have been a month ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. This isn't to break up riots or looting, or this isn't like, it's not even like, because Detroit is one of the cities, and I'm like, there's not even protesting going on in Detroit. Like, it's not like it was, 2 months ago.
Well, I think he's trying to tie it together, right? He wants you to believe that this is all part of the same thing. When he was talking about this, I think yesterday or today in a press conference, he was talking about the riots in the cities, and he was talking about murder rates in cities. And he was talking about them like they were a result of each other. Like the riots were happening because of the murder rate, and the murder rate was increasing because of the riots. And the two aren't really tied in that way.
Well, first of all, I was talking to a buddy of mine about this, and I'm just going to go ahead and assume that he's okay with it. Like, I don't know if I go so far as saying he supports it or he's like is all gung ho about it, but he's like, well, that's what you got to do. And I'm like, wait, but why? last week in Chicago, there was like 30 shootings. I'm like, that happens like 5, 6, 7 times a year in Chicago. That's not like a rare occurrence. It happens multiple times in a year. Where was this response for the last 3 years?
Well, I think,
to be fair, Chicago is, their numbers right now are the highest they've been in 20 years.
Yeah, it is getting bad in Chicago, but like these are two totally different situations. You know, trying to conflate what's happening in Portland with what's happening in Chicago is.
Well, see, even my buddy who like doesn't have a problem with it is like, no, this has nothing to do with protesting or rioting or anything.
Right.
He's like, this is to restore, because the local PD is either their hands have been tied or they don't have the manpower, whatever.
But we've also seen,
or they're just not policing. I think that's what half the. I think that's what half the problem is. Is a lot of the cops are just fuck it, cool. I think a lot of cops have probably just turned into recovery. What, a crime? Cool, yeah. Be there in an hour when it's done.
I mean, I can only speculate, but it has to be happening. I can't tell you that. I can't even begin to speculate numbers though. But I mean. Police are still a cross section of humanity, and there's people who are like, "Oh, fuck me, well, fuck you. I'm just gonna do the bare minimum of my job now."
Yeah, I ain't gonna be on the news. Fuck off.
Well, when it comes to Portland, I think
Portland's a different story because they were throwing shit at a federal building, and I'm like, on top of that, like. Didn't Trump come out like a couple weeks ago and say, we're going to look at these videotapes of people committing crimes against federal buildings, and we are going to snatch you up and prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law?
Yeah, and that's...
They were given fair warning.
Yeah, all this stuff about people being snatched off the street and all, like, you delve into it. Like, I read an article where they're saying, no, if you watch the videos, we're walking right by people to go get specific people. These are people we have warrants on. And we've been watching them.
Yes, just like the people in that chop zone. You know, all these people taking cell phone videos and posting them and live streaming shit didn't stop to think. You hand someone a semi-automatic rifle that's 1, underage, and 2, doesn't belong to them, you both just committed a federal crime on tape.
Right. Well, right. So in Portland, I don't agree with the action, but I understand the logic behind it. And I understand the purpose of sending in federal agents. I don't see the logic in sending federal agents to Chicago. Now, we've done this before. Barack Obama has done this before. He's sent federal agents to assist in cities, in Chicago even. But it's not, it doesn't mean that you send in a bunch of troops in vans and they patrol and snatch people up. That's not how it works. They work hand in hand with the police. They bolster the efforts of the local police. They concentrate on taking down more organized crime in cities, doing some of the things that our local police departments just aren't built for or don't have the resources for. So an additional resource to help a city in need, I understand that, but that's not what this is. Actually, and to expect to just ship in a bunch of troops into a city and by November you're going to miraculously see the murder rate start to come down, that's a fantasy.
Well, Lori Lightfoot met with a U.S. attorney and has changed her tune because the attorney says it's going to be a collaborative effort with the Chicago police. Like in 24 hours, she went from keep them away to, all right, send them.
Well, how can you blame her? I mean, because of the way that the policy is dictated by Trump, it's just Trump says something and then everybody tries to rush to try and figure out a plan. How can we actually implement this and how would we do that, right? So Trump just says, you remember what happened in Portland? I'm sending those guys to Chicago. As Chicago mayor, I'd be like, the fuck you are. But if they actually come to you with a plan and say, here's what we can offer to help bring the murder rate down in your city, why wouldn't you listen to that?
Yeah.
It's the difference between just spouting shit, shooting from the hip Trump versus actually talking to the people who are going to be coordinating these efforts and putting a plan together. So yeah, Lori Lightfoot was dead set against the idea of Trump just going, here's some troops, go crack some skulls in Chicago.
Well, I think the mass shooting that happened in between the time where she said the fuck you are and today might also change the tune a little bit.
It might have, yeah.
I just thought it was crazy that the people at the funeral were firing back. Like I thought that shit was gangster as hell. Like damn.
Here's where I don't understand. Haven't we been talking in like as a nation about how we need to demilitarize the police?
Yeah, still waiting on that police reform. It's been 2 months.
Teach police how to de-escalate situations. Now we're going to send in federal troops in full-on military gear who have no connections whatsoever to the communities they're going into. I mean, no matter how tenuous a normal city cop has a connection to the city at times, at least there is some. They're going to come in and act like this is occupied territory. I mean, is he trying to start some shit? Is that what he's trying to do?
I think he's just trying to make a vain attempt and trying to show his base that he can be effective. And it's going to, I don't know.
If by effective you mean put another spark to this smoldering fucking dumpster fire that we've been dealing with for fucking months now? Yeah.
That's
okay.
That's all it's going to accomplish.
I mean, I'm dead serious. Is this someone in his campaign going, hey, if we get him to fucking, we can stoke the flames, get the fire back going, get the violence going again? Shit. It's going to play well for us. Really?
No, I don't see that.
Yeah, this time around, with National Guard troops, this will not get how it got in May.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone's giving him that advice, I'm just like, really? Seriously right now? That's the advice that you're taking? And you think that's good advice? Okay. It's bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it works for him.
I doubt that anyone is advising him that more unrest would be good for him.
Unless they somehow twisted it into a way to tell him that's the way he could flex his fucking, his authoritarian law and order nuts. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I mean, at this point, who the fuck knows? Who the fuck knows who he's listening to or why they're listening to him? I'm just saying, this shit it doesn't make sense to me. Like, it seems like he's trying to agitate the situation. And I doubt that it's just like through pure fuckery. Come on, man. This is politics. Even if he's oblivious to the moves happening around him, people around him know what's going on. I mean, someone's had to been like, don't you think this is going to aggravate an already tense situation, Mr. President? And then to me, worse, it shows indifference towards people's fucking lives. If he's willing to fucking risk this shit. I'm sorry. What are they going to do? What are these fucking federal agents going to do? Set up on every corner, checkpoints on every block, curfews. What? By the way, for everybody that thinks that you want an authoritarian government who tells you what to do. Be careful what you wish for, because just because you want a government that works that way doesn't mean that they're going to lean the way you do politically. You'll get that government if you keep asking for it. But it might not lean the way politically you want. So it's going to be your ass getting snatched up off the fucking streets.
No, but you got to remember, this is the guy that's been... He wouldn't be photographed wearing a mask because of freedom and liberty.
Oh, right. But now he's saying that he does wear a mask and he does it because he's presidential and patriotic.
I wonder if he just goes through speechwriters at like people go through like underwear, you know what I'm saying? Just like, because if this is all the same speechwriters, do they not remember the speech they wrote for him a month ago? Seriously?
From my understanding, most of it's Stephen Miller. That's who's been writing most of his speeches.
And here's the difference. If Trump was to come out and go, after further talking with experts, after further looking into the subject, talking to people who know what they're talking, who actually know the science behind what's going on, I've reconsidered.
Right.
I think wearing a mask is going to...
We've received
done it with grace.
New information.
Well, first of all, I think body snatchers are real, because who the fuck is this guy? Where have you been for 4 years?
Yeah, but he would
never say that sentence. Rich, he would never ever say that sentence.
Sure, somebody convinced him to say some things that he wouldn't say before, but it really doesn't change the core of what he's saying. I mean, in his plea to Americans to wear masks and that we've all got to take this seriously and this is going to get worse before it gets better is all overshadowed by the fact that today in his press conference, he was blaming the spread, the spikes in cases on, again, with the testing. Also, he was blaming it on riots and demonstrations and the open border, but no blame for...
the border that's been closed for fucking 3 months?
That's what he says. He says, we still got a lot of people coming. There's a lot of cases in Mexico, and people are still coming over. So no personal responsibility for the Tulsa rally, even though we saw an increase in cases in Tulsa after the rally. It's still all just demonstrators and immigrants that are making everyone else sick.
It's a bunch of things. It's that stuff. It's kids going to bars. It's assholes not wearing masks. It's fucking everything. It's a bunch of shit.
And again, we have, it's not going to be the schools, because we have to send people to schools. But let somebody have a demonstration on campus somewhere, and he'll be all over that.
I am still. We say this once a show. I am still astonished we have made trying to not get sick political. It blows my fucking mind.
Well, it's now it's gone to grade school tactics. Now it's well, if you're so afraid of catching this, maybe you should just stay at home. If you're afraid, you wear your mask out of your fear, but don't try to make me be afraid.
Really? You're the public health hazard, asshole. You're the one not playing by the rules.
It's kind of funny. I've been watching, I found out that on Amazon they have tons of riff tracks, right? And they have all the shorts, which are great. Especially if you just want to watch 10 or 15 minutes worth of, ridiculous television. And one of the shorts that they were doing was some sort of a government-funded advertisement, like a public service announcement, right? But it's a whole video, probably, show kids in schools and drivers training, stuff like that. And they were interviewing all these, fake people. They were paid actors. And they're giving them excuses as to why they refused to wear seatbelts, right? And this video, this was somewhere from my childhood. This was like 80, I want to say, right? And I remember all these arguments, people having these discussions, because I remember when the official seatbelt law went into effect in Michigan, and people were still pushing back against that. And all, in this video, 40 years ago, all the reasons that they were giving about, and again, these are actors, but these were all real arguments that people were making at the time, and they were all identical to the arguments that people were making against masks today. And what happens? I mean, here, current day, people just wear their seatbelts. They don't even think about it. It's weird to find that person who's like, I don't wear my seatbelt.
It's just, hear that same shit from motorcycle riders too, and helmets.
Right. So all the arguments were like, it's about, they have their own reasons for safety, like, they can cause more damage than they can help, and they can trap you in a burning car or whatever. Or, I'm a safe driver, or this shit just doesn't happen. I'm not even going that fast. All these same things people are using for the mask. Like, it's going to make me more sick. It's trapping the virus inside. I have a medical condition. My doctor says I don't need to wear one. There is no medical condition that precludes you from wearing a mask, by the way.
I worked with somebody today who claims... And I had to work with him because allegedly a doctor said he had a medical for asthma and claustrophobia.
Yeah.
And looking at this dude, Rich, this might hit a little close to home for you, but middle-aged dude, long hair, beard, wallet chain. I'm looking at this guy like, I think you might have a problem with people telling you what to do, buddy.
Yeah. Might just be a problem with authority. Because first of all, Do you own a scarf? And have you ever worn it around your mouth when it was really cold outside?
I'm down here on the Gulf Coast, so probably he may not.
Oh, okay.
The only thing I could see is if you have to wear like a heavy duty oxygen mask.
In which case, don't go outside.
Yeah, why are you chilling out when there's a respiratory illness that could easily kill you anyways? You know, like the common cold could kick your ass. This really puts you 6 feet under. I mean, I
wanted to say, and I can't. I wanted to say that's a bunch of bull. I say my wife has panic and anxiety disorder. She doesn't freak out in masks. This guy's full of shit, but I can't. And he's probably the reason I'm going to fucking get a test on Monday, just because.
Whatever. And like I said, the language that's being introduced to, you know, if you want people to wear masks, you're a mask bully. I'm like, oh my God. This is the flip side of victimhood culture. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, it doesn't matter what political beliefs you have, what ideologies you hold. You're always going to have the people that are going to just make themselves the victim in all these problems.
How many times have we said this in the last 5 months, 4 months? It ain't about you. Stop being such a narcissist. It's not about you. It's about the people around you, you asshole.
Yeah, if you go to a few news sources, anytime they post about deaths or anything, there's people always like, you know, posting laughing emojis and, you know, all this is, and the usual suspects, well, sure hope doesn't kill your parents, kill someone you care about. See how long you got to laugh if that happens, you know. I mean, I literally have, Earl and I have a mutual friend who went on Facebook and said he's not wearing a mask, don't be a mask bully to him. And he doesn't know anyone who personally had it. And I'm like, Earl, you know, the guy you grew up with for 25 years, you've known for a quarter decade?
Yeah.
Or, century, you know? Yeah. He had it, dumbass. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, it doesn't matter. There are people that don't want to wear it. And it doesn't help that we have cops in certain neighborhoods and certain counties, sheriff's departments going, we got better things to do and worry about trying to hand out $500 tickets for that.
Well,
okay.
It's not really easily policeable, right?
Well, I mean, are you going to detain someone who's refusing to wear a mask until the police get there? Well, I mean, because the cops aren't going to, they're not going to send plain clothes undercover cops to troll in 7-Eleven and see who's wearing a mask and who's not.
Well, see, the other thought I had when they put out these mandates and the fines and all that is like, who's going to enforce this? The people you've been demonizing for 2 months? They're probably going to give you the exact response that you just said, Rich. Yeah, okay, cool, yeah, I'm not really going to try to do this.
Yeah, especially if none of that $500 fine goes to the county or the city that wrote the ticket. If it all goes to the state, fuck, I don't care. Why would I fucking waste my time? There's not even monetarily a reason for me to do this. So fuck it.
Yeah, you didn't even give me a quota.
Yeah,
tell me I have to write 20 tickets this month for no mask, and then it'll happen. Make overtime dependent on it. That'll happen real quick.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I'm not saying that's I'm sure that there's some police officers who are like, I'm not enforcing that on some sort of principle. Okay. I'm not saying it's every one of them is motivated by money, but if you think money isn't a factor, yeah, okay. I protect the innocent, I guess, you sweet summer children out there. I can't believe there's anyone who listens to this show who's that fucking naive.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So, have you noticed how everyone's grammar is completely awful now? Like, you know, the texting and the LOLs. Whatever happened to punctuation? I mean, drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Estar adelante de mis pagos mensuales siempre fue un desafío y no creía que hubiera otra forma de manejar mi dinero. Solía pagar cargos por cada cheque de cajero y giro postal, hasta que escuché sobre Chase Secure Banking. Ahora puedo pagar servicios, cobrar cheques y enviar dinero, todo por un cargo mensual por servicio de $4.95. Así que decidí darle una segunda oportunidad a la banca.
Visita chase.com/Secure Banking para abrir tu cuenta sin depósito mínimo. Chase, logra más con lo que tienes.
Se aplican cargos por ATMs que no pertenecen a Chase. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. miembro de FDIC.
Yeah, this season I actually had little business cards made. Eric Rubino, Fantasy Baseball GM. You can keep that. Sure, the players are famous, but come game day, I decide their fate. What's that? Oh, you make 20 million? What, I don't like your attitude. You benched? No, I'd never bench an all-star, but I could. That's also why I like Progressive's Name Your Price tool. With options based on my budget, they never throw me a curveball. That's a little baseball reference for you.
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Masspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Masspeth, and always open at homedepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
But that leads me back to, okay, so now what? Okay, what do we do with these states that are the new hotspots and are getting worse? I mean, we just passed 4 million people who've tested positive, nationwide. Excuse me. California is just getting worse and worse. I think Chris, what you were saying, I think it finally happened. I think it finally hit a lot of the homeless people. And they probably got around to testing them for the first fucking time as well, because the lower down the socioeconomic scale you are, the less likely you are to be tested.
I mean, they were like the star pupil. They had like the lowest infection rates. They were viewed as like, if you want to do it like California. They had a very phase, reopening. Theirs was more than,
Now they're worse than New York.
Yeah. So
yeah.
What the fuck happened?
That. I mean, it's not just a state-to-state issue. I mean, you are listening on Regimented, not Sporgy, but for an example, there's a baseball team in Toronto, and they said if you're going to play teams from the States, you can't come back here to Toronto and travel back and forth between the States and us. So you're going to have to play your home games in the States. Your entire season will be played in the States. Don't come back till you're done playing your season.
Yeah. I mean, Canada said a couple weeks ago, not till August, United States. Sorry.
At the earliest. And I mean, even the NHL, I think they have 3 bubble cities in Canada. And I mean, that's like, they're rounding up teams by regions and throwing them in there. So you have the west side of Canada, the east side of Canada, and probably somewhere in central Canada that are going to be bubble cities, and the teams are going to travel there, and they're going to play each other. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're keeping them even separated in Canada, but once they get there, you're there. That's it. You don't leave until your team's eliminated. I mean, so that's how we're kind of like the fuck up. We're the person that was supposed to pick up the one thing we absolutely needed for the group project, and we show up and go, oh, fuck, that was today? Oh, god damn.
Yeah.
Well, there's been some governors who have just instituted their own travel bans. I think there were 10 or 12 states that were listed on Ohio's travel ban that was issued by their governor. And then said, basically just looking at the numbers. So you got, if you got a spike in coronavirus cases, you can't travel from Florida to Ohio.
I got to make it 36 hours. I just don't want Big Gretch to say that, people coming from hotspots I don't want to stay in my house for 14 days.
It's coming. Yeah.
You
can get ahead of it, but
I got to make it to Saturday afternoon. That's all I got to make it to. Watch. She does it tomorrow at a press conference.
Well, Joey Diaz was talking about, New York. You come into New York, you got to quarantine 14 days. And it's like, where the fuck are you supposed to quarantine? If you can't go anywhere. I mean, let's say you're going to New York City, right? But let's say you're going to something to do with family. Well, you can't quarantine with them because then they got to quarantine for 14 days, you know?
I think the answer is then if you can't quarantine for 14 days, don't come to New York.
I mean, and that's got to be kicking New York's ass as far as, you know, I mean, the lack of tourism already. But I mean, people in the summer crossing, people going to their summer homes and shit.
They're looking at possibly a third of museums nationwide no longer being able to operate.
Because that's who all the arts are always, they get the first cut. Arts and social programs.
Well, right. I mean, we're talking about being put on a priority list by the government, absolutely. But also, I mean, this is not really about what the government's doing. It's what the choices individuals are making. You know, I think museums are interesting and important and fun, but, you know, I'm not going to go to one right now. It's not a priority for me.
I had to dance around. Someone kept trying to take me to lunch Monday and Tuesday. Man, I had my tap dancing shoes on. There's no way. There's no way I'm sitting inside. Like, the plane right here sketched me out. Like, Delta, I got to hand it to them. Like, you know, in first class, one person per row, and in every other row, they get no middle seats. But at the same time, they still served food and drink. So at some point, everyone's taking their mask off. So I got drunk. I was like, well, fuck, if I'm getting COVID, I'm going to feel good. Like, it's still going to sketch me out going home.
I don't envy you. I really don't. Because it's like, whoa,
I got a gator mask. I can pull it up. I can cover my nose, my mouth, and my ears. And then I put my glasses on.
Apparently that's the way to go. Now I'm going to have to get one of those. I have a more traditional looking mask.
It's a lot more breathable than the thing that goes over your ears. But
yeah. Well, the other thing is, now, I don't do this shit of taking my mask down, right? My mask goes on and it stays on until I'm no longer in the building. Then I sanitize my hands and I remove my mask. Like going to the grocery store, wearing your mask, the whole thing, and then pulling it down to yell across the store at somebody, "Where's the chicken?" Like, what the fuck is even the point of all that? But also, what there's a great graphic that was going around social media. I don't know, maybe you guys saw this one, but it illustrates why constantly taking the mask up and down isn't helping you, because your neck is an exposed area. So all you're doing is taking that thing that goes over your mouth and rubbing it on your neck constantly. So with the gator mask like you have, that's actually something that if you're in a situation where you do have to at times pull the mask down, you're not infecting yourself.
Yeah, but still, but I roll like you. I go in somewhere, it goes on.
Oh yeah,
it stays on until I leave.
No, yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying you can be more lax because of that. I'm just saying that apparently is that should be the type of mask that everyone is using.
And still, the people with putting it under their nose. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like some guy tried to tell me, oh no, it's just about breathing in and out. I'm like, the two holes in your nose, it can get in through there.
God, if there's anything that these last 4 or 5 months have shown us, we have a lot of untreated mental illness and just people who would have, absolutely have no common sense.
No, it's what's that syndrome, Aaron? You guys, the one where you think you're smarter than everybody else, but you're not. What's it called?
I know what you're referring to. I can't remember the name of it.
There's a lot of that going on, and this is elementary school science on how to prevent this shit. This is Rich. You worked in restaurants. This is basic food safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of a sudden, there's tons of people that are smarter than fucking doctors.
Now that I think about it, when I worked years and years and years ago, when I worked at a Pizza Hut, we had an employee get like real sick with like pneumonia. And there was a couple people at work who were wearing masks. No one said anything. No one flipped out. No one, oh, this is, why are you wearing a mask? Blah, 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 blah. They're violating our civil rights and all this shit. If someone asks, hey, why is, people back there wearing a mask? Oh, well, because there's a real nasty bug going around and caused one of our workers to get pneumonia. Oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, you wear a mask for certain jobs. Nobody flips the fuck out. Like, I really don't understand what this is besides it's just you're being a fucking child and going, you can't make me nana boo boo.
Yeah, all these independent thinkers all have the same thought, right? And it all comes from the same guy.
It's a violation of my civil rights? You getting me sick and me dying.
Right. Well, I mean, honestly, if Trump was a proponent of masks, if from day one he was like, hey, we're going to beat this together, and guess how we're going to do it? Everybody get a mask. And it's patriotic to do so.
See,
I'm selling Trump-branded American flag masks.
But I still think you're always going to have those, like, I don't let the government tell me what to do people. Yes, I think those people are always out there.
Those people are going to always exist, but it would be the small population it was, not everyone who supports Trump.
Do you honestly, though, think that everyone that's not wearing a mask is a Trump supporter?
No. I know people who aren't Trump supporters who won't. The whole mask thing is just, and the thing they keep saying.
No. But what I'm saying is that Trump's decision on whether to wear a mask or not would make a big difference.
Well, I agree there. Yes.
The people who aren't Trump supporters are the same people that 5 months ago were talking about they're going to use this pandemic as an excuse to get us all for facial recognition, because we're going to be doing things online, get all our facial recognition shit into one big database so they can control us easier, are the same people who are now going, I'm not going to wear a mask because my government's trying to get me used to compliance.
Bill Gates is trying to chip us all.
5 months ago, you were wearing a mask because fuck the fucking facial recognition software. Now you don't want to wear one because the government told you to, because they're trying to get us used to compliance. These are people you cannot rationalize with, is what I'm getting at. These are people who just, it does not matter what they believed yesterday. They believe something different today.
It's the Adam Carolla line, but I get it. You hate your dad.
Yeah, kind of.
Well, it's like the industrial kids in high school, right? They were against the grain. They were the black sheep, but they had a uniform. Right? They all dressed the same.
Well, it was all of the counterculture kids. Everyone wore a uniform.
Yeah, absolutely.
I used to, when I was in high school, we called them the alternatines. And I used to say, hey, we're celebrating our individuality by all dressing the same.
Yeah, the only thing I took exception with, what everybody started wearing, is flannels, because I was like, look, my family's poor. We don't turn on the heat. Flannel isn't a fashion statement. It's a way of life. Dressing in layers was to keep warm. It wasn't to look like I'm from Seattle or, try to grunge out. No, it was to keep warm. So, but no, exactly. And if you remember, you guys have probably seen, at least I hope one, Aaron, I hope you've seen SLC Punk.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. At the end when he's talking to that girl and she's like,
yeah.
Aren't you basically wearing a uniform? You look just like every other punk I see. She calls him out on his shit, and he's like, oh, yeah. Shit. Oh, I am. Here, I'm thinking I'm a nonconformist, and I'm conforming just to something different, So, yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yes, there are people who, they're coming up with this shit on their own, or they're just always going to push back against everything. But the majority of the people who are not wearing masks and trying to make it a statement, that's just peer pressure, right? Their buddies on Facebook are all posting stuff about the not wearing masks.
Oh, yeah, I had a friend post.
They're not coming up with it. They didn't stop and just, read the science and figure this out on their own.
I had a friend post about he's not going to wear a mask unless he's refused service. He's like, then I'll put one on if I really need to go into that store. I'll go find a new store. And we're talking like 100 replies later. 20-year friendships were ended. People were blocked. Fuck yous. You're a piece of shit. You don't give a fuck, about anybody but yourself. Libtard, Trump-tard. Everything got thrown around. And I was just like, I just came in at the end was like, so what did we solve? ? And no one answered. So I'm like, there we go. Like, seriously, dude, if you don't want to wear one, don't wear one. But I'm not going to sit here. You're not going to get any sympathy from me if you get a $500 ticket. Which I think probably the odds are in your favor you won't get one. You might just be told you can't come into a business. Now, my problem is these people going into businesses where it clearly says no mask, no entry, and then walking in throwing shit fits. And it's like, no. I've worked in that industry. 1, don't fuck with people to handle your food. 2, seriously, these people are they're on edge as is. You really want to push? Because you might end up catching an ass whooping you didn't think was coming.
Dude, just online shop. If you don't want to wear a mask in a store, fucking use Amazon. Make Bezos another $13 billion.
Yeah, isn't it kind of, if you don't want to wear a mask and no one's going to make you wear a mask, obviously you're not going back to work. Because I have buddies who work in factories. They all have to wear masks. That's 10, 12 hours and, in a factory that's building engines and cars, no air conditioning, no nothing.
I've had to wear a mask all fucking week for 8 hours. I don't give a shit. You know what I like? Not getting sick.
So, obviously, if you got the money to sit home, then so you don't have to go back to work? Yeah, order from your shit online. Why are you leaving the house? What are you trying to prove?
No one's going to tell me what to do.
Well, yeah, that's really what it is.
Yeah, but priorities. First we have to figure out who got called a bitch.
Right.
Did McInerney get called a bitch? Did AOC get called a bitch?
How about who cares? Can we file it under that? I've been called worse things than a bitch. Don't hear me crying about it.
Well, she had the House floor for quite a while, it looks like here. And, usual stuff. It's not about one instance. It's cultural, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's like, we have a culture of accepting of violence and violent language against women. And I'm just like...
What part of fucking bitch,
is violent?
Is violent?
Hey, even if he said you're a dumb cunt, that's not violent. He didn't say, kick that dumb cunt's ass. That's calling for violence.
Weren't you a bartender? Right. You've probably been called far worse.
Oh, God, yeah. In New York? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's just like, really? Okay. I get it. I was, kind of on your side. Then you got to turn this into somehow that, well, he said something I don't like. He called me a name. That's violence. No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
just like being asked out by a guy who you don't find attractive isn't sexual harassment. Being called a bitch is not violence towards you.
Well, also, if it was a male Democrat representative that he called fucking asshole or dick or something, we wouldn't have spent any time on it.
No.
Right? I remember, wasn't it, some Republican, lost their shit on the floor and, I can't remember who it was. They were just like, fuck you. And that was a news story for a day. But nobody went on, there was no apology. There was no, we have to take up an hour of Congress's time addressing this issue. It was a behind the scenes moment that kind of got it out into the public. And maybe I'm jaded from watching too many seasons of Veep, but I just assume they're all calling each other asshole and bitch behind the scenes.
Oh God, yeah. It wasn't even a full year into Obama's 2 terms when Kanye West hopped on stage, snatched the microphone from Taylor Swift, and they asked him about it during an interview, and it was at a commercial break, and he was like, God, that guy's a jackass. And it got released, and it was like, okay, that's funny. Obama was a regular dude for a second.
Right.
What do you think about Kanye? He's a jackass. It's like, yeah, okay, all right. Hey, can I bum a cool? Thank you, appreciate that. It's like normal guy for a second. Okay, and no one flipped out. Look, is it unprofessional? Absolutely. I'm not even going to try to defend. I'm not defending what he said.
Oh, sure.
I'm saying, what I'm saying is, don't come in here and try to call this shit violence because fuck you. First of all, fuck you. You are minimizing the people who actually have been physically assaulted in relationships or women who are targeted by men because they're women. Fuck you. Don't act like some guy calling you a bitch is the same thing.
And also, yeah, the appropriate response would be in the moment to say, wow, that was really immature. I don't know why you had to sink to that level. I guess you don't have much of an argument since you have to resort to, you have to fall back on calling me names.
No, but she's from She's from the clap back generation, though. That's the problem.
That's not clapping back, though. That clapping back would be doing what I said.
Yeah.
Instead, everybody has to stop, and we all have to have a moment.
We have to be lectured.
To discuss what just happened, when what just happened is life. And adults say things that they may regret in heated situations, but this was in no way had anything to do with violence, sexism, or anything. I mean, maybe it was sexist, but how would you ever know?
Quite honestly, too,
how would you ever prove that he called her a bitch because he's sexist and not just because he was mad?
Yeah. I'm viewing it as a little bit of a smokescreen, too, because other than the first stimulus package, what the fuck has Congress done since March?
Yeah.
Where's all this police reform?
Put a bill on the president's desk to force the United States military to remove Southern generals and leaders' names from bases.
How many?
I'm being dead serious. That's about the only thing I can think of any consequence.
Well,
they had a summer break. They're having an August break. What the fuck have you done? Like, the country is fucking falling apart. What the fuck has our legislative bodies done? Jack shit.
Absolutely. And they're trying to put together another stimulus bill. Something that they, I'm sure many of them wanted to believe that we wouldn't need another, but that was wishful thinking. And they had to have known that the subject was at least going to come up. But from what I'm reading about it today, the Republicans are in disarray. They are definitely not on the same page when it comes to what they want to see in another stimulus. And they've had a lot of time to think about this.
But the thing is, nothing's come from the House. Nothing's come from the Senate. Somebody do something.
You want to see him do something? Let Ruth Bader Ginsburg go on life support. You'll see them start hustling real quick. Right. And all this talk about how we can't appoint judges. Where and when it is appropriate to appoint judges will go out the window.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember Mitch McConnell saying himself about, it's too late in Obama's term to be appointing judges. It's just not proper. A lame duck president shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, that shit, bye-bye. Oh, of course. And I mean, it's... Oh, God. It'd just be a clusterfuck.
Gorsuch still got through, though.
What's that?
I said Gorsuch still got through. They tried like hell for him to not get through. I just want somebody to do fucking something. There's so many stories I read about the House or the Senate, and I want to send them to you guys and be like, is this a priority right now? Really? This is what we're working on?
Well, here's the thing. What's buried in the shit they have passed that we're not hearing about? What's in all the pork? What have they stuffed it in there? Because that's what I really want to know.
I think that's part of the problem of why they don't have a plan for another stimulus is because Trump and the White House has been very vocal about they're not going to approve any stimulus that doesn't have a payroll tax cut.
Tax cut, yeah.
And that has nothing to do really with any kind of stimulus. That's something that Trump wants to push for because he wants tax cut. He wants to show results. He wants another tax cut to show his base that he's actually doing the thing that they expect him to do.
Yeah, because November's awfully close and that wall isn't built, so he needs something.
Yeah, I mean, what does he have to really hang his hat on? I mean, I guess he could go out and go, well, look how the economy was doing before. So, kind of an asterisk. I mean, right. where else can you go with this?
I'm almost like, I feel like sometime between now and election day, they'll probably put out some charts of what the economy would have done without coronavirus, right? Like, they'll try and push their projections like, hey, you know, if you take coronavirus out of the equation, look where we would have been. And that's the crazy thing is, like, coronavirus was the opportunity, and they totally fucked it. That was a perfect opportunity to do the right thing and to bring the nation together and get us on the same page, and it probably would have, you know, I'm not saying that Trump could have done anything to prevent anything that's happened in this nation due to coronavirus. But just the idea of him trying to unite the nation in our fight against this, something that is like a no-brainer. Well, the opportunity was completely squandered. Yeah, so he doesn't have anything to show, and that's why he's losing.
But there is a faction that's never, no matter what, there is a faction of people, though, that no matter what, they're not going to agree with anything the guy does.
Okay, but let's put this into terms that a lot of his supporters, especially before the 2016 election, were throwing around. Like, why would I want to elect a politician to run this country? Let's get a businessman in there. Okay, well, now we have a businessman in there. Okay, well, guess what? I'm sure the CEO that got hired in February of 2001, who was CEO of an airline, and, 6-7 months into, his tenure as CEO, 9/11 happens. They take a big dive. They start hemorrhaging money. Hey, guess what? It wasn't your fault that happened. You didn't ask for 9/11 to happen. You didn't orchestrate it. You didn't plan it.
Yep. But sometimes it's just a game of hot potato.
And guess what? You got caught holding a potato. You got to go.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Using Trump's own supporters' logic, you got caught with the potato. You got to go. See you. So,
yeah, if we're instilling him based on business rules, then he would have. I mean, he wouldn't have lasted this long. He would have been replaced already. They don't give you 4 years to turn a business around.
And like I said, I'm just using their logic. This is what was pumped in my head. Democrats, they're politicians, and if you want to have someone be successful, you put a rich person in charge. You don't put a poor person, because a rich person proves that they can navigate the business world. Okay. Well, guess what? We the people, we're kind of like the board, and we can fire the CEO. So you put it that way, don't really see a reason to even vote for him. Like, I can't rationalize a vote for him. So I don't know.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World. The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for the previews to start in a movie theater.
Hey, you want anything? Popcorn? Soda? No, nothing?
This has been The Sounds of the Old World. Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Maspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new: our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Maspeth, and always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead, dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
And I mean, let's not even include who fucking knows how many businesses we're actually going to lose by the end of this?
Oh, I heard yesterday. This is just based on Yelp. There are 800 businesses in the city of Detroit. Over. And that was just based off of the businesses that were on Yelp.
I can believe it because I've seen 3 shut down, stayed empty fast food places since this shit started in the area where I'm at. And you don't see fast food places sit empty for long. They either tear them down or they remodel them and repurpose them for another fast food joint and then put it in there. Those turnarounds are awfully quick. So, I mean, when fast food can't even, get opened up and they're closing, that's franchise owners, folks. That's probably not corporate. That's franchises that were lost. That's quote unquote small business people.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Trump's going to have his rabid fan base that like the idea of a celebrity president or think that he's been appointed by God or whatever their reasons are. And he's always going to have his never Trumpers and people who just think the idea of him being in any elected position is abhorrent. But the majority of the voters are going to vote on the economy. And it doesn't matter who or what fucked up the economy. If the economy's fucked up, the incumbent's going to pay.
Although I heard something scary a couple of days ago, that as of right now, Republicans are outpacing Democrats in registering to vote.
Well, that's where all you people went out, protested, Black Lives Matter, all this shit. That's nice. I'm glad you get to put a bunch of cool pictures of you doing something cool for the cause, dude, on your fucking, Instagram page, whatever the fuck. But you got to have follow through, or else it's the same old shit. I mean, to quote Doug Stanhope, if you're, he's playing in New York doing stand up, and he's like, if you're mad because I'm smoking, vote.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines by him. Oh, you guys jealous that I'm smoking indoors? I don't know. Vote next time.
Like, no, I'm going to let old people with respiratory issues tell me what I can do with my life when I'm 20 and in a fucking comedy club that they'll never come to. Like, seriously, that's on you folks. Technically, I think we've all aged out of that, bitch the loudest, but don't do the least. I think that's more of a 18 to probably early 30s, late 20s. That's who they said was out there. That's who they're catering to.
The 18 to 34s.
Yep. Go do your thing. Because I've said it, the last couple of weeks. I still feel this way. No lead is safe. If you are I do not want Trump reelected person, you cannot be safe. You cannot feel comfortable with any lead. I don't care what the fuck they tell you. I don't be comfortable with it because you did it. You did it before. How'd that work?
Listen to us 4 years ago. All 3 of us. He's got no chance. No, even up till election day, no chance. I mean, we thought grab him by the pussy. I remember myself saying, "Well, that was it, Donnie. Nice to know you."
Yeah, he was like Tom Hanks in Black Jeopardy. Blank lives matter. Well, it was good while it lasted, Doug.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, absolutely. And Jesus Christ, even Michael, and it wasn't a partisan thing. Like we honestly didn't believe. We're like, there's no fucking way. And then when Michael Moore and Ann Coulter got on Bill Maher at separate times leading up to the election, and we're like, he's going to win. Like, you don't understand. The people I talk to, he's going to win. And everyone was like, ha ha ha, and we laughed too. Who's laughing now, bitch? So
And when I heard that the other day about the voter registration, it blew my mind. I was like, are you shitting me? Really?
Well, apparently there hasn't been as much voting or registration to vote via mail as they thought there would be. Which, it's like, it doesn't get much easier than that. They send you the information, you fill it out, you send it back, you don't even have to put a stamp on it. They send you, when it comes time to vote, they send you your ballot.
So I voted for legal weed. I was out of town that election day. I got my absentee ballot. Like, I ain't missing out on this shit here.
Well, do you see what I'm getting at? If you can't be bothered to do that, do you think you're going to be bothered to go to the polls?
Fair enough.
So that's how I'm reading that situation.
There's another factor that kind of throws a wrench in the voter registration statistic, though, and that's, well, I think New York was a couple days ago. They just instituted automatic voter registration, so that kind of throws it all out the window. There's no longer a drive to register voters.
Well, see,
Michigan's had that for years.
Yeah,
that's how I was registered to vote.
Yes,
I moved one time, and I needed to have.
But here's the thing. This is why it's a monkey wrench, though. This is happening more in more liberal areas. So you might, like, if you're looking at how many new voters on individual statistics that Democrats versus Republicans are registering, the automatic voter registration doesn't tie into those numbers.
How do you know? It's still people registering to vote.
No, it's not. They're automatically being registered by the state, and there's not a drive from Democrats or Republicans to go and have outreach to people who haven't yet registered.
No, but there are some states where you have to register your party. Michigan isn't one of them, but could New York be that one of them?
That's not the same thing. Registering your party versus the results of a voter registration drive.
How so?
The statistics that you're citing are coming from the results of voter registration drives. In areas where there's automatic voter registration, there is no voter registration drive.
Okay, but I'm not getting what you're saying. They could still count people who are registered to vote.
No.
Doesn't matter where it came from. Aren't they counting who's registered?
You said that Republicans are registering more new voters than Democrats are, that they're outpacing them, right?
Okay, but I just assumed that was people who were declaring themselves when they go register to vote.
No, that has nothing to do with what they declare. It has to do with, Democrats and Republicans separately have voter registration drives to make sure that the people who are going to vote for their party are getting registered.
By the way, that New York thing passed 16 hours ago, so I don't think it's had quite an effect yet.
No, I was just using that as the most recent example of areas that are doing automatic registration. So while the results of voter registration drives, I think it's a very real statistic that we should look at. And I'm not saying that this isn't something that you should not worry about, but I'm just saying it's not the entire picture of who's being registered to vote in this country. And the more places that institute automatic voter registration, the more that statistic of voter registration drives becomes less significant.
Well, if we want to talk about the whole story, another thing I keep reading about the polls that we're talking about is they're not. A lot of these polls are leaving out the people most likely to vote for Trump, which is a lot of these polls aren't polling. I believe they say non-college educated white guys, and that's who tends to vote for Trump. That's another thing I'm worried about, because I've seen that story more than once from more than one source.
So they're just not reaching out to. I mean, I don't know. I've looked at recent polling results, even broken down by demographic, and non-college educated white males are in there. I don't know. I mean, it might be true that they might not be actually reaching out to them in the same numbers as other demographics.
I sent you guys that article. I believe that there are people that are just like just don't answer any questions, or flat out lie. Tell them you're voting for Biden. I mean, that's just they're just fucking with. Some of them are trolling the system. Some of them are trying to get people complacent. Whatever the reason, there's organized groups of people doing that for whatever reason. Yeah. And I don't know. And like I said, it could be because they're trying to get the people who are on the fence about voting not to vote, or it could just be they're the type of people that some men just want to watch the world burned. Fuck it, let's just see what kind of shit I can cause. So I forgot to tell you guys this. Last week I get a phone call, and it's a young guy, and he's like, "Do you have a couple minutes to answer some questions?" And I was like, "Is this for political polling? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'd never done it. Fuck it. I figured I'd do it. 45 minutes later. Jesus. But anyways, and I talked to him just like I'm talking to you guys. I didn't pretty it up because you called me, motherfucker. So you're gonna get me rough, rugged, and raw. And it was standard questions for the first half. The last half, I was like, he started asking these questions, and I'm like, you understand this is a leading as hell question. And he's like, I could see where you'd think that, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's because the questions went from, would you be likely to vote for Trump? And it was, very likely, not so likely, indifferent, that spectrum, the five answer one. And then it went to yes or no questions, and it was like, does Trump saying there's very fine people on both sides while Joe Biden supports BLM and defunding the police make you more or less likely to vote for Trump? And I'm like, come on, man. Like, I get it. I thought you were taking a poll. No, you're polling and you're asking loaded questions. These are leading questions. These would not stand up in the fucking cross-examination in a court of law. And I'm like, if that's how polls are done, now granted, I've only taken one, and I did it just because I never took it. So if I'm going to have an opinion, I at least should probably dip my toe into the lake, I think, before I tell you what I think the water's like. And I'm just like, yep, it's pretty much bullshit like I thought. I mean, if that's how they're all done, I don't see how we get any information that's reliable.
Yeah, there's a lot of when did you stop beating your wife type of questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you find it hard to hide the fact you're gay?
Yes.
Well, no, not at all. Wait, what did I just answer? Hold on, wait.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing things. It sounds like it's a set of questions to.
Would you suck my dick for a shiny red apple? Oh, so you do it for free then?
Yeah, it just sounds like it's writing the questions to give you the answers you want.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was definitely a major factor in the upset that we saw in the Trump election. And part of what they found out that the people were probably voting for Trump even though they said they weren't going to, right? Because the polling wasn't about what they really thought or wanted to do. It was about how they wanted to be perceived. And I'm sure there's a lot of answering of polling questions that revolves around that. What do I want to give this person what I believe to be the right answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it definitely, I almost asked him, but it eventually, after like the 30-minute mark, I was like, bro, wrap it up, B. You know what I'm saying? The music's playing. Come on, let's go. You said a few minutes. This has been 30 minutes. How much longer? Oh, 10 more minutes. And then, 15 go by, and I'm like, all right, dude, this has got to be it. Yeah, last question. Okay.
There's really no end to it. He probably would go on forever.
Probably.
It's just, he usually gets cut off sooner.
But I almost asked him, do you have two different scripts? If I start answering questions leaning more to the right, do you have a different script you read the second? Because there was a clear line of demarcation between the first half of the questions and the second half.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I almost wanted to ask him that, but like I said, after 45 minutes, I was just like, I gotta get off this fucking phone. I haven't thought as much about politics and my voting habits ever. I just don't give a fuck that much.
You should have pulled the Pee-wee on him. What? What?
Pulled the Dr. Cox. Hi, honey, I'm in a tunnel. Click. But it really kind of, I'm like, okay, well, this is starting to make sense now. This is, and yeah, I mean, I was like, at the end of it, I'm like, so I guess you're just going to have to label me one of those dirty, filthy centrists or moderates or whatever they call us. And he's like, yeah, you kind of, yeah, you don't really have many strong feelings from your answers. And I'm like, oh, because I'm not excited about either of these candidates, and the option was, who are you going to vote for, Trump or Biden? And I was like, what about Kanye? And he just laughed. He was like, there's an other. You could say other, and I'm like, I'm not voting for Kanye.
I'm fine with polling. I just don't think that we should be releasing the data to the public. It's not like essential data that needs to be out there. This is just polling data is primarily used by campaign managers. And it's kind of unfortunate that it actually does have an effect on how people vote.
Excuse me. And quite honestly, too, I think other than the strategy that Rich was privy to, I think the other one is if you want it to come out Democratic, you call the urban centers and surrounding areas. You want it to come out Republican, you call rural areas. I mean, there's probably many ways to get the answers you want.
And I will say this, there is no room for nuance. Even though they give you, well, you can pick from 5 answers. I'm like, yeah, one is I like you, then I just like you. No, I don't like you, and I hate you. And one is I don't give a shit. That's not
on a
really
scale of great to amazing. How good is Trump doing right now?
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. He's like, so do you support the BLM movement? And I'm like, dude, come on. That's not a yes or no or even a 5-answer question, man. What part? We talking about the sentiment? We talking about the people protesting?
About the sandwich?
We talking, yeah. Yeah.
The bacon, lettuce, and mater sandwich?
Bacon, lettuce, and mater, because it's America. But I'm like, are we talking about the people that are co-opting it and using it as an excuse to go out and loot and riot and are riding the coattails of people trying to do something legit? And he's like, yes. And I'm just like, oh, Jesus, man, you're not really helping me here. So, I mean, it's like, these are so, yeah, okay, I support it, I guess, somewhat. I know how that answer is going to come off because I'm just going to get lumped in with everybody else who said that. And it's going to be like, only so-and-so are somewhat concerned with Black Lives Matter. But that's not how I was answering. I was answering that question because if you want to encompass all that, then yes, I support them more than I don't. But there is elements in there that I'm not down with. But that's anything. That's anything. That's a fucking TV show that I watch. I don't have to like every cast member. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, so you don't have room for any kind of nuance in there. And, I said earlier, it's unfortunate that polls actually do influence the way people vote. I think the more unfortunate thing is that it actually influences whether people vote or not. Mm-hmm. People see, Biden's got a double-digit lead on Trump in Michigan. Done deal. Yeah, I don't even have to risk coronavirus to go vote against Trump now.
Yeah, I think that should happen in 2016 for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. Amongst the many things that we need reform on when it comes to how we elect leaders in this country, maybe polling data should be part of that. I know it's not, these are independent organizations that are doing this. It's not the government, but it's not even not useful. It's misleading information that's just unnecessary.
Well, it really feels like it was, like you said, it was polling information was more for originally campaign managers, et cetera, to get a feel for what's going on. Then you had someone who learned how to use it as basically, propaganda prop.
When we start putting the campaign managers out on Fox News and CNN and all that shit, what else are they going to spout? Well, here's all this data on why my candidate's going to win. You should vote for him. Be on the winning team.
Well, I told this guy this at the end of that poll. I was like, congratulations, because you're the only person I'm ever going to take a poll from.
Yeah.
I'll never do another one of these again. He's like, okay. And I actually said, I was like, and if in case they're recording this and they're reviewing this, give this motherfucker a raise. He deserves it. And he just starts laughing. He's like, I agree with the sentiment, not the way it was put. I'm like, see? Nuance. We were talking about that earlier. And he just laughed again. So,
well, I guess we're going to find out soon enough, huh?
Not much longer. I don't want to have a repeat of fucking that first Tuesday in November in 2016, just sitting here going,
I don't want to.
Again?
Yeah, I don't want to repeat of the last 4 years.
I am afraid of Joe Biden debating.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's going to do fine.
I hope you're right.
Were we talking about Joe shouldn't riff?
I'm just saying, I hope you're right, but I think you're blue sky in this one too hard.
They're both going to be all over the place.
But good. Well, someone's got to say it. I mean, we want to talk about cognitive. I'm not too sure about Joe. Hey, Joe's slipping. I mean, what's that thing I sent you guys today? He said he believes Trump is the first racist president. It's like, there were presidents that owned slaves, Joe, right?
Okay.
I don't think that's because...
And Trump saying he wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well, I was like...
Insane.
What the fuck is going on with these people? These are our choices?
Yeah. But I don't think that was something that Biden said because he forgot about slavery. He said it because, somebody... some well-meaning person on his team put it into his mouth. And
Reagan was caught on the phone recorded talking to Nixon, calling black people monkeys. Like, seriously, of all the shit we've caught Trump on, I don't think we've got any video or audio of him dropping an N-bomb. Like, which is amazing. Somebody has to have that footage. I mean, they just have to, right? At a party, something from back in the day?
Well, Mary Trump says she's heard it herself.
No, I'm talking like I'm waiting for the footage to hit. You know what I'm saying? Or the audio of it. It has to be out there. There's no way. Shit. It ain't been that long ago. 80s weren't that long ago. Redlining was still a thing, and Trump was in the real estate business. So I'm pretty sure he told people who work for him, only certain types of people are allowed to be in these neighborhoods, if you catch my drift. So, I mean,
Hey, Biden wrote that crime bill in 94. It was one of the authors. I'm willing to bet Joe might have said it a time or two. Joe's from that generation.
That's okay. Look, that's what it's like. That's where I'm like, okay, so if because you have this new school of thought that's coming to the forefront of the more in need of a nap woke flakes, that everybody's racist and it's inherited. It's not even a learned trait. It's just in your DNA. You're white. You're racist. Okay. Then don't be shocked that every single person on this planet's dropped that special N-word. And what are you mad about? If everybody's fucking said it and you now know it for a fact, can we move on? Like, seriously, is it going to be that big of a deal? I mean, to me, it's like, it's ridiculous the shit we worry about with these politicians. Like, I don't know how valid the video, but apparently there was a video going around of that Biden quoting somebody. I don't know if it was quoting lyrics or something. And yeah, he dropped that special word. And I was like, is this a deep fake? I don't even know if I can trust this shit anymore. It's another reason I can't take this shit so seriously. I don't know what's real and what's fake half the time anymore. I mean, have you guys ever seen a story and been like, nah, I'm going to fact check this? Like
that one a couple weeks ago with the guy who supposedly said, I thought it was a hoax right before he died. I was like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, it's a little too convenient.
I wanted to say, you forgot the part where you went, oh.
Soylent Green is people. Yeah, okay, that was your last words. All right.
No, and I think it sucks that we now live in a time where you saw a video and you're like, not too sure about that.
Well, I mean, it's an old, obviously standard definition looking video. I don't know. I'm not an expert on digital manipulation. It's not something I can sit around and be like, ooh, I could pick that out. If I really am looking for like Photoshop in a picture, I can find it if I'm really looking for it. But I'm not one of those people that can just spot it right off the top. And so I'm just like, I don't even know anymore. Is that a real video? Could be. I don't know. I mean, would I be shocked? No, not at all. I mean, Jesus Christ. Negro was the accepted nomenclature at one point in Joe's life. Now that will almost get you into a fight, depending on how you're using it and to whom.
I'm waiting for the Spanish language to change their term for black. That's got to be next, right?
I don't know.
No, black is in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Negro, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We had a kid in Spanish class. He's like, "Are we allowed to say this word?" And it's like, "Are you calling someone that?" No. Then don't worry about it. It's referring to the color.
Yeah. Now, if your Spanish teacher calls the black kid in class Negro, yes, we have a problem.
Unregimented@ChristopherMedia.net is the email. If you would like to... Hey, my microphone just changed. Whatever. At least it's the end. If you'd like to help us out, go to ChristopherMedia.net.
Hit the PayPal button. Hit the Amazon banner. Make Jeff Bezos another $13 billion. And maybe give us a couple of those bucks while you're doing it. ChristopherMedia.net is where you can hear us, along with Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, I almost said iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Spreaker.com, the iHeartRadio app. Wherever there's a podcast, we are there. We thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
See ya.
Later, guys.
And now a game of Commercial Chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we see how long Flo can go without talking about insurance. Ready? Go.
So, have you noticed how everyone's grammar is completely awful now? Like, the texting and the LOLs. Whatever happened to punctuation? I mean, drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
There's a new Home Depot now open on Maurice Avenue in Masspeth. And as home improvement projects go, this is a big one. Use the product locator on our app for an in-store map to find what you need fast. And check out our new pickup lockers. They make online shopping a breeze. Of course, one thing's not new, our everyday low prices. The Home Depot, now open near Maurice Avenue and Long Island Expressway in Masspeth. And always open at HomeDepot.com. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.